What's up, all you Flux automators, and in this video we're going to be looking at two drones. Now, you may have seen in my previous video, if you click up there you'll be able to see it, I did a review on the DJI Neo, and after that, as you'll find out, I had a different opinion on the device. So after that, what I did, I went away and I bought this, and then I bought this. Okay, so you might be wondering, why does he have two drones and what's the difference between the two of them? Lucky for you, I'm gonna break it down for you and let you know why you should buy one over the other or why you might need both. Let's get into it. Now, these two drones are probably the best two drones on the market for the price, and depending on what you're doing and where you're entering into the industry, one might be better than the other. I'm gonna give you my 10 pros and cons of each device. So 10 pros, 10 pros, 10 cons, 10 cons. So let's go over the 10 pros of the DJI Mini 4 Pro. So as you can see, this drone is nice and compact when it's folded up, and it weighs under 250 grams, which is, you know, one of those things that you need to be thinking of when you're purchasing a drone, if this is the first time you're getting into the market. And with this drone, it easily can fit in your pocket. So it can fold away, you can put it into your combat pants, you can put it into a jacket pocket, for example, and you know, you can move around quite easily and just take it out and use it. Now, the second thing is, in addition to its size, is the fact that you can film in portrait and landscape. So as you see right here, you can do portrait and it will flick and turn to landscape. So you can get those shots for your social media, meaning you'll be in 4K in portrait and 4K in landscape. Now, another one of the great things about this drone is the fact that it has so many options when you're using the controller. So you can use the follow me, okay, so you can film yourself. So you don't need another additional cameraman. You can use this and you can get it to follow you. You can do all kinds of extra shots like droney, asteroid, and rocket, and a whole host of things that you can do with this drone. Now, another thing to think about when you're using this drone compared to the Avata 2 is the fact that it is a little bit quieter. So it has more of a softer sound when it comes to actually using it out and about. So once it takes off, you can throw it up in the sky very fast. So, you know, most likely people won't even notice that it's there anyway. Now, when it comes to the device, you also get the controller, and with this controller you can see everything that's on your screen, and it enables you to see your drone when it's at a distance but still control exactly what it can see. Now, this is a requirement for when you are flying your drones, that someone at all times must be able to visually spot your drone from a distance. So using this compared to the Avata 2, where the Avata 2 you have goggles on, so you're gonna need a spotter. In this case, you don't need a spotter. Now, when it comes to the stabilization of the shots, because you have a full axis gimbal, your shots are gonna be way clearer compared to the Avata 2. Now, when I say clearer, I'm saying that from a perspective of, because this is a gimbal, it's gonna be able to move with the changing and the tilt of the actual drone itself. So it doesn't have to do as much cropping compared to the Avata. You are going to get crisper and cleaner shots using this compared to the Avata 2. Now, point number 7 is you have the omnidirectional detection. So the drone will know exactly where it is compared to trees and walls and things like that. So it has less chance of colliding with anything. Now, this is probably more safe to use and less chances of you actually crashing and breaking your drone. Pro number 8 is the fact that if you do have both the Avata and the Mini 4 Pro, is that you can still use the Avata 2 controllers and the headset or the goggles you can still use with this. And that's where we get some cons coming in, and I'll tell you about them in just a moment. Another thing about this drone compared to the Avata is the fact that you can fly this at night, because you have the landing lights and the flight lights on the drone, and you also have a light underneath. So once it's dark outside, this will turn on, or you can have it turned on at all times, and you can see where your drone is, and it's going to allow it to fly. So when you're putting it out and about, you can see where it is, you can see the location of it, and then you can see when it comes down to land, because this will be able to be spotted from above, but also when it comes down to land, it will shine on the floor so you can see exactly the terrain that you're going to be landing on. Whereas the Avata 2 doesn't have any lights for that. And last but not least, pro about this, and the main reason that you would buy this over the Avata 2 is the fact that this is created to do more cinematic shots. So you get smoother, nicer shots, and you can do many more of the things from a cinematic point of view, and more control over your gimbal and your camera and the flight of your device compared to the Avata. Now let's get into some cons of the Mini 4 Pro, and the first con will be, even though you can use the controller and the goggles from the Avata 2, or you can buy them separately, is that you're not really gonna get that FPV feel. You're gonna be able to see what you're doing more accurately and have a bit more control to a degree, but you're not gonna try and use this like you would use the Avata just because you got goggles and a joystick. Con number 2 is the speed and movement. This is more for steady, smoother shots. You're not going to get anything out of this that's too crazy or too speedy, unless you want to put yourself in a position where you potentially could break the device. So this, as I said before, is a more of a cinematic type of drone. Now, it comes in at under 250 grams, which in theory means you can fly over people. But the only thing about that is the fact that if you were flying this over anybody, you would have to put on the propeller guards, and adding those will then take you over the 250 grams, which means then you can't fly over people. So it's a bit of a tricky one, really. I think putting the propeller guards on here would benefit from, you know, causing any damage to anything else or saving the propellers. But other than that, it's not going to give you the ability to go and fly anywhere you want. As I said, once you put them on, you are taking it into the next class, which means then you will have to register your device, and you will need to then have your drone pilot license. Now, to do any wide angle shots on this, you are going to need to use the wide angle lens that you can buy separately and add to this, because standardly it comes in at 22mm lens, and then you put on the wide angle lens, which then enables you to have those wider shots. But the downside to that is once you put that wide angle lens onto the front of your gimbal, you're not going to be able to use any of the ND filters, which then causes you to have overexposure or not the required frame rate. So, you know, it's going to be a balance as to, do you want the wide shots with overexposure and have to edit things down, or do you want more of a cinematic look to your film? So another con to this, which is not such a big thing, is just that it takes a little bit more time to get this up and running, having to fold out the arms before taking off the brace. So it's taking off the brace, unfolding the arms, taking the gimbal protector off, then connecting up your device and then getting it flying. So it's not that much more, but you know, it's just one of those extra cons that this needs to actually be folded away. And especially when you're trying to fold it away and put the arm guards on, it gets a little bit fiddly. So if you're in a rush to get away from a particular location or something like that, it's going to take you a little bit more time to actually make sure this is secure before leaving. So con number 7 would be the fact that you're going to use this more as a creative tool rather than a toy or something to have a lot of fun with, compared to the Avata, which is more fun once you learn how to fly it correctly. This is a more semi-professional type of device. As I mentioned already, all those pros, but also one pro I forgot to mention is the fact that this can take shots in RAW, and whereas the Avata only does JPEG. Con number 8, which is not really a con, but once you are investing into something like this, if you are going to think about it from a professional point of view, you might want to purchase the Air 3, which right now is almost the same price as this, or the Air 3S, which is a little bit more costly, but something to consider before you're purchasing this. I think one of the biggest selling points about this is it's small, it's lightweight, and you can travel with it very, very easily, which is a pro rather than a con. This is for outdoor use only. You don't want to be flying this indoors at all. You might want to just test it inside, but in terms of the propellers, potentially hitting walls and knocking things over and creating more damage to things in the home or inside the building, but also to the propellers themselves. Okay, so Once the propeller hits something, the engines are going to cut, so your drone is going to fall, whereas the Avata could bump into things and still keep going. The last thing I'll say about the Mini 4 Pro is that it doesn't have much internal storage, only has 2 gigabytes compared to the Avata 2 that has 46. So you always want to make sure you're carrying your SD cards and that they have been formatted or you've taken the data off there already. Now moving on to the Avata 2, and hey Flux Automators, I hope you are enjoying what I'm bringing to you on the channel. And if you do, please do me a favor by subscribing, liking, and hit the notification. Check out some other videos on the channel, and also use the link in the bio if you want to buy any of these products, because it helps the channel so I can buy more stuff and bring you some real reviews with no restrictions, no filter. All right, let's get back to the video. Just from the jump, this is just such a beautiful device compared to the Mini 4 Pro, but that's not what we're really here for. It's not about the looks, it's what it can do for you. So let's get into the pros. So pro number one would be precision flying. The fact that you can fly this very, very fast and be very precise in what you're trying to do, and you're less likely to crash this if you're trying to do any maneuvers like that compared to the Mini 4 Pro. Pro number two is that the speed of this device can go really fast. The Mini 4 Pro can go fast as well, but now once you put this into full manual mode, it does some top end speeds. This is way faster than that. Once it goes into manual mode, it's kind of kicking AWS. Now the third thing about this is the FPV goggles that are super amazing and make you feel like you really are flying. With that, it gives you a lot more precision in terms of your flying, what you can see and checking out for obstacles, compared to the Mini 4 Pro when you're using the controller itself with the screen. There's certain things that you're not going to be able to see, and also if there's a lot of light outside, you're going to find that it's going to be hard to actually see what's on the screen. When you have the goggles, you are fully immersed, but also you have the ability to see what's around you by double tapping, and you can see anything else that's in front of you, and then tap back in to see what's in the drone. Now the onboard storage on this drone is great because you get a straight 46 gigs already built in, but also you can add in additional memory into there. So you could be filming for hours and hours. Not that the drone will fly for hours and hours, but you have that backup just in case your SD card fills up. You have the onboard storage, and even if you leave your SD card or it becomes corrupted, you have the internal onboard storage. Now pro number five is the fact that this is more durable than the Mini 4 Pro, but I would say still be careful when using this. Don't think you can run it into trees and walls and it's going to keep flying. So in my experience, at only 10 miles an hour, I bumped it into a tree and cracked it, so I had to get a replacement. So with that said, make sure you get some bumper guard protection, and I'll place a link to these in the description below if you want to order them. And I suggest you do order them if you buy this. You also can order this gimbal protector as well. And I think both of those in combination will make sure that your device, your drone, lasts a little bit longer, especially when you're starting to learn how to fly this. So when it comes to doing tricks and having fun, this is the device that you need. So it does come with some onboard tricks that you can easily access, but also when you are skilled and you have learned enough, you can actually pull those tricks off for yourself. Doing things like looping and rollovers and things like that, you can do with this FPV compared to a cinematic drone like the Mini 4 Pro. Which leads me on to another point, is the fact that when you buy this as a package, you also get the joystick controller and you get the FPV goggles, which make it so much easier to fly something like this. Once you get comfortable, then you can upgrade to one of these controllers, and I'll put a link to this in the description, which then you can learn to fly manual and get those speeds I was talking about. Now, in addition to that, the lens on this is a wide angle, so you get super wide, you get wide, and you got normal. So out of the box, you are going to get a wide angle lens compared to the Mini 4 Pro, which doesn't have a wide angle, and you have to put the wide angle lens adapter on it to use it. So this will always be wide angled, and then you can put your ND filters on and you're good to go. So this is predominantly made for action filming, not cinematic, even though you get a cinematic type of feel, but it's more of an action cinematic type of feel. So this isn't the one that you would use to, film houses and any locations like that. You want to be using this for anything that is a little bit more intricate and you want those stunning shots. This is the one compared to the Mini 4 Pro. In addition to that, you can use this in and around a building. So if it bumps into a wall or any objects, it's not just going to fall out of the sky, and it has a lot more protection around the sides, so your propellers won't get damaged and it will keep floating. Last but not least, this is fun. Okay, this is way more fun than the Mini 4 Pro. But as I said, depending on what you're using them for and your use cases, you might want to use one over the other or a combination of the two of them. So let's look at the cons of this device. The first con is the weight. Now the Avata 2 comes in over the 250 grams. So you are going to need a license and you're not going to be able to fly over people. And you also need to register this with your local authorities. All depends, different countries have different rules, so make sure you are following those rules and checking it out before you actually purchase it, but most likely you are going to have to register it. Con number 2 is that this isn't something that you would use to film yourself because it has no form of tracking built into this, so you can't use it and film yourself and get it to follow you or anything like that, like you might do with the DJI Neo. Even though it looks similar, it doesn't have the capacity that the Neo does, but in terms of speed and all those other things, it's way better than the Neo. Con number 3 is that because it's FPV and you have the goggles on, you are going to need someone to spot. That person will have to make sure they can see where your drone is at all times, because you're going to be in the goggles and seeing what's coming out of the camera. You're not going to be able to see where your device is. Now you do have the ability to have picture in picture, but I would say, just to make sure and to be safe, you have somebody that is going to actually spot this for you. Con number 4, which is not really a con if you take the time to learn, is how to manage this in manual mode. Now, I don't think you can just get this and never flown a drone before and go straight into manual mode and you've got it all sussed out, because most likely you're going to break it. So if you do purchase this and you do get the controller and you want to be learning how to fly manually, make sure you use one of the simulators online on your phone or on your computer or tablet and learn to fly it before taking this out and flying it for the first time. Con number 5 is the fact that it isn't as compact to carry as the Mini 4 Pro. So, this doesn't actually break down any more than this. So it's not going to be able to just slip into your pocket. So you're going to have to carry some form of bag at all times. You can hang it off something, but I wouldn't advise of that, because then you could potentially, cause stress to the frame of the device and end up cracking it or breaking it. Now, con number 6 is that you don't have any collision detection compared to the Mini 4 Pro. Now, you do have some sensors on the back, but this is more for landing and making sure that when you are close to the ground, that this can actually land safely. It's not going to stop you from crashing into the ground at all. And as you can see, these sensors at the back, if your drone is going forward and it's going to go crash into something that way, there's no way it's going to be able to, prevent that from happening. You just need to make sure that you're in control and you can maneuver your drone correctly. Con number 7 is the fact that this is a little bit noisier than the Mini 4 Pro. Isn't that much noisier, but if you really want to be the quietest, go for the Mini 4 Pro over the Avata 2. Because we have this additional guard protection over there, it does change the way the wind and the air is managed through the device, so it is going to sound a little bit differently and a bit louder. Con number 8 is that this device is only meant to fly in the daytime. Okay, so under low light conditions, this drone is not going to take off. You're not going to be able to see where it is, and yeah, that's it really. Don't fly this at night. Which moves me on to con number 9, which is the fact that this is way easier to crash because you don't have that collision detection, and also the confidence that it gives you. Once you start flying, you feel like you are on top of the world and that you are an Air Force drone pilot, and you're most likely going to crash it. I'm telling you now, take your time, because I thought I was taking my time, but I wasn't taking as much time as I needed. And as I said, I damaged my first one, and now this is the second unit. And last but not least, con number 10 is the fact that when you're wearing your FPV goggles, you're not going to be fully aware of what's going on around you, which can be a little bit daunting, because if you're out flying something and you don't know if anyone's coming up behind you, or if there's an animal, a bear, a dog, whatever, you're not really going to be able to see it because you're immersed in the moment through the goggles. So take care when you're doing it. So if you're interested in either of these devices, make sure you look in the description because I have a link to the devices where you can purchase, and make sure you subscribe, like, and hit the notification. And for now, I hope I've helped you in making your decision as to if you go for Mini 4 Pro or the Avata 2. But for myself, I'm sticking to both of them. I'm going to make the most use of them. So stay tuned to the channel because I will be bringing you some more in-depth videos on how best to use them and what you can do with them in combination. Thanks for checking out the video. I'll see you in the next one.